welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a new tutorial video. I am going to be showing you guys how to make a hand knit scrunchie. I have a video on my channel that I did years ago on how to crochet a scrunchie, so if you're more into crochet, you should definitely check out that video. I'll try to remember to link it down below, but I think this gives a totally different look than the crocheted one, so I wanted to share with you guys one of the things that I brought to my market this year, which was these knit scrunchies. They're super fast, super easy. They take hardly any yarn. So if you're interested in finding out how to make your very own hand knit scrunchie, just keep watching. Before we get into the tutorial, I do want to thank our today's sponsor, Ana Luisa. Ana Luisa is a unique, affordable, and sustainable jewelry company. I've worked with them in the past and I just adore their jewelry pieces. Everything about this brand, from the packaging to the jewelry itself, is just right up my alley. The packaging is so cute. Every piece of jewelry comes in its own little pouch, which I find so perfect for storing purposes as well as traveling purposes. I legit keep all of my jewelry in their pouches, including jewelry that I didn't even get from Ana Luisa. The little pouches are great because they're perfect for storing your jewelry, like I said, but they're also sustainable, so you can reuse them for other things in your life. They're very high quality pouches, just like the jewelry itself. So I really love that little detail that Ana Luisa puts into their packaging. And obviously we love the sustainability that Ana Luisa offers. I mean, being a knitting person, I'm all about sustainability and slow fashion. So Ana Luisa tries really hard to use recycled materials for their jewelry pieces, which I really admire. And you lose no quality and the prices are still very affordable. I think they range from the lowest of like $39 into a higher priced items. But right now they're having a current end of the year sale where everything on their website is up to 70% off. And I also have a discount code that I'll link down below for you guys if you're interested in checking out some of your own Ana Luisa jewelry. I love how simple these pieces are and they pair with literally everything. So I wear my Ana Luisa earrings every single day. I sleep in them, they're so comfortable. I have the smaller version of the hoops that I'm wearing right now that I never take out. And they pair so well with all of the other jewelry pieces that I wear that aren't from Ana Luisa. They just fit my style so well. And I think that's what makes them so giftable. The necklaces themselves all just like go together, and not only that, they're all adjustable. So they have multiple loops in the back of the necklaces that you can adjust the settings. I also really love the way that their hoops clasp. They fit nice and tight and I never worry about them falling out. And I am really loving these larger hoops. I have to get used to them, but I think that they're gonna add a little extra funk to my life whenever I wear my hair up with my hand knit scrunchies. So a big thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. If you guys are interested in any of the jewelry pieces that I've showed today or anything that might suit your style or somebody you know style, check out the link in the description box down below. Give Ana Luisa a shot because I really do believe in their company and their brand, and I love their jewelry pieces, and I think you will too. All right, so into today's video, I am going to start off by showing you guys what you're gonna need to make your own little scrunchie. So the yarn choices and the needle sizes are definitely gonna vary, and I'll kind of go through that as I'm doing the tutorial. But essentially, the basics of what you're gonna need is you're gonna need some yarn. I personally really enjoy the Must Be Merino by Yarn Bee, which you can find at Hobby Lobby, what I use for markets to make hats. And after I made a hat, I had the perfect amount left over to make an amazing size scrunchie. So I do recommend this yarn. It is a merino wool, acrylic, and nylon blend. So it's really soft, it's durable, and it's gonna make a really nice scrunchie. Trust me, I wear mine all the time. You're also gonna need some sort of elastic. This is a 1/4 inch elastic that I cut into about 7.5 inch strips. And then my aunt went ahead and sewed the strips together for me to make a loop. And they're nice and sturdy and they stretch really well, as you can see. If you have thicker hair, or you know somebody with thicker hair, or you are making these for a child who has finer hair, you could definitely shorten the length of the elastic. It's still gonna be plenty stretchy, but it'll fit their hair better, or elongate the length of the elastic if they have thicker hair. So whatever you feel is best for the elastic. I did 7.5 inches and I feel that that is a nice average size. You can also use a pre-made hair tie, which I have done in the past with some of my other scrunchies. And I do feel like they wear out a little bit more than the store-bought elastic that you're making yourself. So I recommend the elastic, but if you have hair ties laying around, they definitely work just the same. You also may want to note the thickness of the elastic. A thicker elastic is going to hold the hair tighter, so that might be great for a more thick hair. And a thinner elastic is going to hold a finer hair just fine. So those are all things to take into account when you're making your own scrunchies, but overall, I think a 1/4 inch elastic cut into a 7.5 inch strip sewn together is a very average size scrunchie. I sold these at my markets, I've gifted them to friends, and they've all had great things to say about the hold that they provide for their hair. So elastic, yarn, and you're also going to need a 4.5mm knitting needle. I used one with a 16-inch cable, so whatever you prefer. If you want to do double pointed needle, 16-inch cable, if you want to do magic loop, whatever will get you the circumference that you'll need to knit your scrunchie comfortably. So that is all you're going to need aside from a stitch marker and a tapestry needle to finish your project. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. A little disclaimer, this is not a video on how to cast on. It's not a video on how to do the knit stitch or the mattress stitch, anything that I talk about in this video. This is just a tutorial on how to make a hand knit scrunchie. So you are going to want to know the basics of knitting before you start this tutorial. But if you know the basics, you're a beginner and you are excited for a new project, this is the one for you. It's very easy and very beginner friendly. So let's go ahead and get started. So to start the scrunchie, you are going to cast on 85 stitches. I cast on 85 stitches for the size of scrunchie that I am wearing in my hair today that you guys saw moments ago. I'll cast on 85 stitches for that. If you want a scrunchie, or if you made your elastic longer, you're going to want to cast on more stitches. If you made your elastic shorter and you want a less scrunchie, you're going to want to make your cast on stitches less. So I found for the size that I like to make, 85 stitches is perfect. But like I said, you may want to adjust your cast on based on the size of the scrunchie that you want. You also would want to adjust your cast on based on the yarn that you use, as well as the knitting needle size. So I have some larger scrunchies that I've used like a heavier weight yarn for, and I used a 5mm knitting needle. I casted on less stitches. But the thicker your yarn and the bigger your knitting needle, the less stitches you're probably going to want to cast on. It is all based on gauge and how scrunchy you want your scrunchie. I don't like mine overly packed on to the elastic, so I think the 85 that I'm doing with the yarn that I'm using and the needle size is perfect. But adjust accordingly. This is a very easy thing to adjust. But all you need to know really is the number of stitches that you're casting on is how scrunched up your piece will be on your elastic. This is not how big it's going to be. This is how scrunchy it's going to be on your elastic. So when you pull it out, you want to have enough fabric there that's going to allow you to stretch the scrunchie, but you don't want so much fabric that it's like overbearingly like together, if you feel my vibe. So cast on however many stitches that you want to do. You may also decide that you want to do a provisional cast on here. That way it's easier to graft in the end. I have done that method as well. It looks exactly the same pretty much as the method I'm going to show you. It's got a little less of a seam than the method that I used, but it does take a lot more time to do the provisional cast on and then to do the Kitchener stitch at the end. So I recommend just doing a stretchy long tail cast on. I use the German long tail cast on. It's stretchy enough. I never have an issue with any of my elastics not being able to stretch to full capacity. But you may also do the provisional cast on here. I've used that method. A lot of patterns suggest that method. I wanted something a little bit quicker because I was doing a mass production. So again, I'm just using a German long tail cast on. And then after you figured out your cast on method and you have all your stitches casted on, you are going to go ahead and just start knitting in the round. I knit a total of 20 rounds for my scrunchie size, and I really just used all the yarn that I had left whenever I was making my hats. So I found that 20 worked really well and it looked really cute on the size of scrunchie that I was wanting. But this is where you would adjust the size of the scrunchie that you're wanting. If you want a huge, like ribbon size scrunchie, you will knit as many rounds as you want. So you're gonna obviously fold the scrunchie in half. So whatever you knit is gonna be half as long as what your scrunchie is gonna be. So just keep that in mind. I personally, like I said, did 20 rounds. If you want to do 30 rounds, you're going to have a larger scrunchie lengthwise. If you want to do shorter, you're going to have a shorter scrunchie lengthwise. I've made a lot of shorter ones for my friends with short hair, and they really love them because they're a lot smaller, so their short hair doesn't get eaten up by a giant scrunchie. Keep that in mind when you're making your scrunchie on how big you want the scrunchie to be based on the person's amount of hair or your amount of hair. There's a lot to take into consideration here, which is what makes this pattern so fun. You can adjust it so easily. You can hold a worsted weight yarn, you can hold a fingering weight yarn with a mohair and add some texture like I did with these ones. There's really so much you can do with this scrunchie pattern. It's all up to your creativity and imagination. I'm just showing you what I do to make my perfect scrunchie. After you knit the total amount of rounds that you so desire, you are then going to bind off using a stretchy bind off method. I personally prefer Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. So that is what I use in the tutorial. I also show you how I do that bind off using a crochet hook because I find it so much easier than trying to fiddle around on my knitting needles to do that bind off with this many stitches. So that is what I'm showing you in the B-roll, is me binding off with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off using a crochet hook. Obviously you don't have to do that. You can use your knitting needles to do your bind off as most people do, but I find that the crochet hook works really well. So just a little tip there. Now, if you did a provisional cast on in the beginning, you are going to want to pick up those stitches onto another set of needles. So you will leave the needles that you have in your knitting right now. You won't bind off. You'll just pick up the beginning stitches that you casted on with another set of knitting needles. And this is where we are going to finish the tutorial. So this is where we are going to finish the scrunchie. After you've bound off all your stitches or picked up your cast on stitches, if you did provisional, we are going to insert the elastic into the scrunchie. So what you're going to want to do is you are going to turn your work inside out. Obviously by this point you would have cut your yarn, leaving a very long tail to finish the cast on. So cut your yarn, leaving a long tail, turn your work inside out so the purl stitches are on the outside. And then you are going to take your elastic and you are going to insert it into your knitting. So you're gonna gather up the purl stitches all so they fit inside your elastic and pull your knit work through. You are then going to join your two working edges together. If you did provisional cast on, you'll have two sets of needles, and this is where you're going to Kitchener stitch all of the stitches together. So if you did provisional cast on, you're gonna Kitchener everything together and you are going to be done. If you did the bind off like I did, you are going to use a mattress stitch. So you are gonna thread your tail, your long tail that you left, through a tapestry needle, and we are going to do a mattress stitch to sew the two edges together. I found this to be a very easy method. You get a very clean seam and it's stretchy enough so your elastic can stretch to full capacity. So you're gonna match your edges together. So the knit stitches are gonna be on the outside now because again, you put your purl stitches on the inside. You're going to match up your first stitch from the cast on edge and your first stitch from the bind off edge, and we are going to proceed with our mattress stitch. This is a little bit fumbly to start, but once you get it started about 3 or 4 stitches in, it really just is cake to continue to sew the edges together with the elastic end. It's really just the starting that's a little bit fumbly, and unfortunately my tripod broke as I was trying to film this part, so my film B-roll is a little bit awkward, but I hope you guys still get the idea. It's just a basic mattress stitch where you go through the elastic. You want to make sure your yarn is going through the elastic when you sew it together as to not make the elastic disappear and not be a circle. Side that your yarn is attached to, you are going to go through the first stitch on the other side. You're going to go through both of the legs, so the V of the stitch. You're not actually going to go into the center of the stitch. You're going to pick up both legs, you're going to pull the yarn through, and then you're going to go to the first stitch on the other side, bind off edge. So you're going to pick up 2 legs of the first knit stitch, you're going to pull it through, and then you're going to go back to the cast on edge and you're going to pick up the 2 legs of the second stitch and pull your yarn through. You're going to continue this pattern all the way across as to do a mattress stitch. If you need more detail on a mattress stitch, you should definitely check out a YouTube video. There's a lot of great ones out there that'll walk you through it. But that's the basics of it. You'll want to make sure you're pulling the yarn tight, but not too tight. You just want to make sure you're joining the stitches together, but it's still stretchy enough so you can stretch your elastic. And you'll just do this through all 85 stitches. When you get to the end, you will just weave your tail. I just poke mine straight through the fabric and pull it all the way through, and then snip my yarn. Then you have your scrunchie. You're all done and you are ready to make more. I found the easiest thing for mass production purposes is to knit a whole bunch of tubes and then go ahead and finish them off by sewing them, but you can do whatever you prefer. Very adjustable pattern. I will try to have the details of it on my blog down below if I get there. I haven't really been into my blog lately, but I'll try my best for you guys. And again, a big thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. Check the link down in the description box down below to check out my discount code as well as the end of the year sale that they're having. And that's all I have to say. I need to get the heat turned back on because it's freezing in here. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below on what other tutorials you'd like to see from me, and subscribe to my channel for more random content. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!